Howdy, this is Rachel Young and Haley Lee, and we will be presenting on Harry Potter and his struggle with PTSD. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix was one of the most famous and popular Harry Potter movies out of the series. It features a 15-year-old boy who discovers he is a wizard. Earlier in the series, Harry discovered that his parents died to protect him from the evil villain Voldemort before he disappeared, which forced Harry to live with his abusive extended family. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix picks up in the story after Voldemort returned and killed Harry's friend Cedric in front of him. Throughout this film, Harry had to deal with the trauma of witnessing his friend's death and his parents' murderer reappearing. Because of the trauma he has gone through, Harry Potter is being considered for a diagnosis of PTSD.
The diagnosis for Harry Potter is that he has PTSD and resultant depression from the trauma that he has experienced. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder and often presents itself through symptoms including irrational anger, flashbacks and nightmares, and emotional numbness which can affect relationships. These are the most common symptoms in independent cultures such as America, Australia, and Western Europe, which includes Harry's culture. As presented by Cambridge University, trauma survivors who did or didn't have PTSD in interdependent cultures such as Africa and Asia only differed in feelings of alienation, while trauma survivors with PTSD in independent cultures were reported to have more issues with impulsivity and mental health as well as alienation. Because Harry lived in the independent culture of Western Europe, he would have had much worse symptoms than someone in his situation in an interdependent lifestyle.
The diagnosis of PTSD comes with many symptoms that include violent nightmares, feeling numbness, and isolation for Harry. Studies show that traumatic experiences can develop into a nightmare disorder, which directly affects daily life and mental health. Harry Potter experienced recurring nightmares that involved vivid and violent depictions of the death of his parents and of Cedric. He often woke up disoriented and gasping for air, as if the events of the nightmare had just taken place. Because of the intensity of his nightmares, Harry began to display strong signs of alienation from his everyday life, including his relationships and activities he used to enjoy. He lashed out at his friends constantly when they tried to help, or moodily refused to interact with them, even in times of distress. Specifically concerning the nightmares and near hallucinogenic events, the article Nightmare Disorder and Isolated Sleep Disorder explained that medication and CBT can help manage these issues. Harry's symptoms could be described very similarly to those explained in this article, and therefore would need potentially similar treatment.
Harry portrayed many of these symptoms associated with PTSD throughout the movie Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Starting off in the first scenes of the movie, he experienced several angry and irrational outbursts. Only a few scenes later, his nightmares were shown as Harry relived Cedric's murder. Harry clearly needs a treatment plan to help him with his PTSD symptoms, as he was losing sleep and pushing his friends away. The top two treatment plans for PTSD include CBT and EMDR, which are known to be equally as helpful. Throughout the movie, Harry went through several painful and forced experiences of reliving his trauma. Therefore, the proposed treatment for Harry's PTSD would be to start with CBT. In doing EMDR too soon without any healing, Harry would be too overwhelmed to restructure his memories in a safer mindset, as the intention with EMDR. Using CBT, a therapist would help Harry improve his coping skills and mindset, which would stabilize him to where he could actually process his trauma using EMDR.
Although the Order of the Phoenix did not blatantly explain that Harry Potter had PTSD, it did clearly show PTSD and the symptoms that came along with it. The severity of PTSD is portrayed to the audience, as well as how drastically it could change someone's life. Harry Potter was the perfect character for the author and producers to display this disorder, as it showed the decline of his mental health. In the beginning of the series, Harry was associated with hope in the wizarding world. He was courageous, innocent, and a hero. However, in this movie, the viewer watches as Harry's character is twisted as a result of the horror he had to deal with, and the viewer sees how rapidly PTSD and depression can take over someone's life. It is often the heroes that struggle with PTSD the most. Common heroes in our society include war veterans, first responders, and more. These people frequently struggle with PTSD. Just as Harry faced the pressure from a world watching him, so do veterans and first responders. This should remind us to take care of our heroes and that every person is just as human as the next, no matter their place in society.
These are the resources we used, and that's all, folks. Thanks and gig 'em.